Johnson, professor of literacy at Minnesota State University in Mankato. And when I make these videos, I try to stay in my own lane. I don't comment on things related to accounting or finance or anything else. Just an old literacy professor, so I try to stay in my own lane. And this boondoggle is related to literacy. Some people want to mandate that teachers all over the state of Minnesota, and other states have done this, have to go through LETRS training. And it's a boondoggle because you have to pay $15.45 for a course and application fees and cost of tuition and textbooks and online licenses. There's 12 modules. I don't know if each module is a course, but it claims to provide educators with in-depth knowledge and tools that they can use with any reading program. Okay, well, kind of. Okay, yeah. You can use it with any program. That doesn't mean you can use the program correctly or that it's going to improve students' ability to create meaning with print. Now, Dr. Louisa Moats, I'm sure, is a fine person with her EDD. She is the author of Literacy, and she provides 10 reasons why this professional learning is essential. All right, and we're going through each one, and this is essential point number 2. Teachers matter more than programs. Adopting a good research-based curriculum is not enough. Okay, well, we're going to, she has a kind of a paragraph, and we're going to look at that. There's 4 big ideas. She has this kind of paragraph with each point. So we are going to deconstruct what she says here, and we're going to look at the sources that she cites. Teachers matter more than programs. Adopting a good research-based curriculum is not enough. Well, of course, everyone agrees that teachers matter, that teachers are the most significant variable in determining the quality of education students receive and the amount of learning that occurs. I could give you page after page of research, of citations to describe this. Absolutely no one would disagree with that. But if this is the case, why do we try to teacher-proof the curriculum? Why do we try to mandate to say, we know what you should use? You need to use this. You need to go to this professional development. You're not smart enough to figure out what kind of professional development. And you need to use this program. Fidelity. You need to implement this program with fidelity. That means you follow the recipe. And that's also an example of educational malpractice. Good teachers look at their students and adapt programs based on the needs of their students, not with fidelity. Educational malpractice, fidelity, that's what it is. Adopting a good research-based program is not enough. Of course, everyone believes that, but a curriculum is not a reading program, and a reading program is not a curriculum. A program is something you buy from publishing companies that have developed things. This is their program, but a program is a plan system or a series of knowledge, skills, and concepts based on academic standards that's designed by the school and district. You don't let someone else determine your curriculum. You don't let the publishers determine the curriculum. We want creative, intelligent teachers. We must allow them to be creative and intelligent and design their own curriculum. Now, we all agree as well that research-based pedagogical strategies, teaching strategies, enable you to achieve curriculum goals and objectives. We all agree that is needed. We need to give teachers, allow them to develop toolboxes filled with strategies that they can use as needed and not follow recipes or programs with fidelity. Don't teacher-proof the programs. Okay, point number 2. Successful use of a program depends on how well a teacher understands the content and the purpose for its various components and instructional routines. Okay, understands the content and purpose. One spelling error. Let's unpack that again. Teachers matter more than programs, of course. Everyone, I can agree with that. Program content, program purpose, components, and instructional routines. Teachers matter more than those, of course. But then why do you insist that we have mandatory programs, purposes, components, and instructional routines? If teachers are more important than these, why do you mandate that we have these? Why do you insist we follow programs with fidelity? Good teachers can make anything work if they're allowed to adopt and adapt. Now, Orton Gillingham is a reading program. It is another example of a boondoggle. There is no research to support it. But I've seen good teachers adopt that and make it work, to pick and choose the elements for their students. Good teachers need to be allowed to adopt programs to their students. Program developers are someplace in New York or someplace else. They don't know your students. Teachers know their students. And we teach students. We do not teach programs. We teach actual live human beings who are not standardized products. And if you have an inadequate program, understanding this inadequate program leads to inadequate instruction. LETRS claims to help teachers understand instruction. Well, if you have an inadequate program, which many reading programs are, leads to inadequate. All right, number 3, and there's some citations here, and we're going to look at the citations. After all, if it's cited, it must be important, right? If it's cited, it must mean it's true. Mandating use of a good curriculum does not guarantee a strong implementation. Okay, well, I think we can agree with that. But again, a curriculum is not a reading program, and a reading program is not a curriculum. A curriculum in each subject area is a planned set of benchmark learning experiences, skills used to achieve broader goals. And it's informed by our state standards, yes, but it is planned by teachers and school districts, not a program developer living someplace else. Reading programs are not and should not be reading curriculums. Now, the first citation is really not a research article. It's an evaluation of California's Reading First initiative, a $6 billion federal project that was part of No Child Left Behind. And the research has shown that it had little effect, and it has been discontinued. It promoted for-profit entities again. And this is the report, not research, but a report. And these are the people that presented it. It was a report. She's citing a report. A report is not peer-reviewed research. This is a for-profit system. Software, online data collection, for-profit entities. Nothing wrong with making profit. You just shouldn't make it off the backs of our taxpayers and off our struggling readers. Diane Hager, I'm sure a wonderful person and a great professor. She's a special education and counseling professor, not a literacy professor, okay? And then the second author, this guy, producer, award-winning writer, award-winning musician, actor, multiple Hall of Fame in the martial arts. Okay. If I wanted someone to star in a martial arts movie, he'd probably be one of the first people I'd call. To evaluate reading research or a reading report, probably not so high on the list. And this was a report written for the California Department of Education, 6-year report, looking at the Reading First initiative, which was for-profit, federally funded program as part of No Child Left Behind, where the states got federal dollars. That's important because the states wanted to continue to get that federal money. Highly successful, more money. Federal reports showed, when they looked at the federal reports, not the state, they found that there was this Reading First initiative had no impact on reading comprehension, slight impact on word attack, and an increase in teacher professional development. Yes, because it paid for that. Absolutely. Part of it was teacher professional development. But that doesn't mean students are better able to create meaning with print. But people made money. God bless America. Reports are not blind peer reviewed. Blind peer review. You do research, you write it up in an article, you send it off to an academic journal, they take your name off it, send it to experts, they review it to say the methodology is right. That is blind peer review, and it is essential in the research and scholarly writing process. Mandating use of a good curriculum does not guarantee a strong implementation. Okay, but not sure how this report supports that statement. The results of this report were misinterpreted or misapplied. And I don't know which is scarier, that Dr. Moats misinterpreted that report, she didn't know any better, and misapplied it by accident, or she knew better and she did these things on purpose. Both of them are kind of scary propositions, if you ask me. The second citation, I read this, Florida Center for Reading Research. They've had a lot of for-profit things that come out of there. Teachers' knowledge of literacy concepts, classroom practices, student reading, and student reading growth. Okay, scientific studies of reading. Well, it must be important if it comes from the scientific studies of reading. This is what they looked at. Teachers assess knowledge or the amount of explicit decoding. Does that impact students' word identification gains? Their knowledge and the amount of explicit decoding. And then they just took out the knowledge part. Does it predict explicit decoding instruction? And knowledge and the use? Okay, you get the idea. All right. They found that students of more knowledgeable teachers, more time and more time spent in explicit instruction, that predicted stronger word reading gains. Okay, if the teacher knew a lot, as defined by them, and the teachers who knew a lot, who spent more time in explicit instruction, their students had stronger word reading gains. Now, identifying lists of words out of context is different from creating meaning with print. Teachers with sounding out word knowledge were better able to use direct instruction to help students sound out words. But it never differentiated identifying words or recognizing words. They're different, and creating meaning with print. Also, they assess teachers' knowledge using what sounds important, teacher knowledge assessment, language and print. They designed it. And surprise upon surprise, that the things in that test match the things in the for-profit LETRS program. They decided that these things were important. Well, these things may be somewhat important. They may be necessary, but they are far from sufficient. Just knowing these things does not make one a better reading teacher. Okay, they received the treatment. You can stop and look at that if you want. And results, decoding instruction didn't predict. Teacher knowledge did not predict. Okay, what they found out was high knowledge teachers used direct instruction more successfully. But what does that have to do with this? Mandating use of a good curriculum does not guarantee a strong implementation. More knowledgeable teachers use direct instruction more successfully, or more knowledgeable teachers in what they thought was important. How does that support Moats' statement? Again, the results here are misinterpreted or misapplied. All right, let's look at the fourth one. General education and special education teachers will be more inclined to teach foundational reading and writing skills along with comprehension if they are well prepared in the content and methodology of code-based explicit instruction themselves. And if I had to predict, I would predict that the LETRS for-profit program is code-based and has explicit instruction, that they promote that sort of thing. Just a guess, just a guess. I'm not going to pay $15.45 to find out unless I see stronger evidence here. It is based on the assumption that a code-based approach, explicit instruction, is sufficient, that it is more effective than a meaning-based approach. And I have found no research to support that. Now, some in the code-based camp will find a flawed implementation of whole language or a meaning-based approach and say, aha, see? Or they'll specially train teachers and pull students out, and they'll measure growth based on sounding out word tests. But when you have real research looking at comparative things, there's no research to support that a code-based approach based on orthographic mapping is any more effective than a meaning-based approach. And I could make the case, and I won't do it here, that it is less effective, that it impedes reading. Okay, they cited this to support their statement. And let's take a look at their statement again. More inclined to teach foundational reading and writing skills if they are well prepared in the content of code-based explicit instruction and the methodology. This is how you do code-based and explicit instruction. By the way, explicit instruction takes about 10 minutes to teach. It is a pedagogical strategy, not an approach. All right, disciplinary knowledge of K-3 teachers and their knowledge calibration in the domain of early literacy, and published in the Annals of Dyslexia. All right, the study was to assess kindergarten to third grade teachers' actual and perceived reading-related subject and matter knowledge, to assess how much they knew, how much they thought they knew, and how much they actually knew. It has nothing to do with that statement. While teachers demonstrated limited knowledge of literature, phoneme awareness, and phonics, the majority of these teachers evaluated their knowledge levels quite positively. So they tested their knowledge of these things. They thought these were important, and they aren't necessarily, but far from sufficient. But teachers, essentially it said, teachers don't know as much as they thought they knew. That's what this study says. That's what it's about. And again, the study is misinterpreted and or misapplied because it had nothing to do with comprehension or writing. It had nothing to do with teaching foundational reading and writing skills. It had to do with teachers' perceived knowledge and their actual knowledge on this very narrow range of information related to teaching reading. Now, there are 7 elements necessary for teaching for effective reading instruction. And the LETRS approach uses the bottom-up. The LETRS program promotes a bottom-up approach. Now, every reading program somewhere during the week should have daily reading practice, books where students select their book at their independent below. There should be interaction and conversation around good books. Authentic writing experiences where students are describing their ideas and experiences, and these need not be long, 5 to 10 minutes at most. Activities and instruction for word recognition, using all 3 of these. Word recognition means you see the word in print and you automatically recognize it, and you're using these 3 cueing systems to recognize. That's different from word identification. Here, you see a word in print, you don't recognize it, it's in your lexicon, mental lexicon, so you need to use a strategy, you need to purposely employ a strategy so that you can recognize it. And these are approached much differently. Comprehension instruction and activities to develop word knowledge. All right, why Are we paying for-profit entities for illegitimate teacher professional development when there are legitimate teacher professional development opportunities out there?